Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me. So I wanted to bring you another video. I got into this topic, spiritual warfare, in another video, and I didn't want to continue because that was not the topic for that video. I think it would be more appropriate for this video. So if you let me just go ahead and put it in here before I get into it. So if you would like to work with me, my information is in the description below. Excited to talk with you and see if we would be a good fit to work together. All right, so let me go into it. So I was talking about spiritual warfare, and I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding about it and what it looks like sometimes. Because when we do the work that we do, lifting people up, trying to help people, make them whole, a lot of people will try to spread lies about us, to attack us. There are a lot of things that come up, and we need to remember that part of it is because we're doing such important work. Um, and I was talking in the last video about when you're building, whatever, a business or practice or church or what have you. And I'm not talking about the you know, I can use air quotes if you can imagine me using air quotes, saying the fake churches that um have they got leadership. The leadership prays against people doing better so that those people continue to come to the church and give them money. Um, or continue, yeah, to hold up that house of cards or the Ponzi scheme or whatever you want to call it. And that is unfortunate. We don't want a church or any churches like that. We want um, the church to really be about lifting people up. And I think um, there are just so many things that I have been thinking about focusing on and just not um, not getting too much into because there are only so many people that we can discuss this stuff with that it would make sense to. Um, and when we talk to them, it's not like they don't have some kind of agenda. They're just being honest and truthful and speaking and being and, behaving from their heart. So, um, so lately, the spiritual warfare, and sometimes it looks like strange behavior from a person. So it'll be the person, you'll be, okay. And, next thing you know, the spirit will get started in them. Whatever the demonic or whatever spirit is, it will get started in them. And that let's say that they start an argument with you. Um, and for you, what's coming up for me is that every time if you need to say something, the spirit will put the words in your mouth. And this for me is so important. And I always ask God to do this, to have me say what I need to say or do what I need to do, take over me because I don't always know. So it was the other day, um, I was mentioning this to someone is a significant person to me. I was saying the spirit just kind of took off with my body. And it was one of the first times that ever happened to me that I got moved without me, like I didn't have to approve, but I asked God to do that for me. So I'm glad that it happened. And I know, that it can happen more and more. And I'm asking God to just do it, just do that. Because I'm not always the best, at listening when God says move. But God, the spirit just took off with my body. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. By the time I got to the room I needed to get to, then it came to me, okay, yeah, that's why, you know, I had to move. But I didn't I was not in a moment, that is what it was like, that the spirit just moved my body and I was putting one foot in front of the other and I got there. And then I understood. And I think that is the way we need to be living our spiritual lives anyway. That um when God says move, we move and we don't ask questions. We can sit down and hash it out later, reason it out later. But when God says move, we move, because if we don't, I was saying this before, and I said it many times before, that anything can happen to us basically, because God already told you what to do. If you ain't moving, anybody can do it. You can expect anything from anybody. And these things, when it comes to spiritual warfare, things might try to attack your speech. I'm just letting you know from my own experience, from what I got. um, so we do not belong in the world. We just operate here because this is what, you know, we're called to do. But I'm just trying to speak on the things that I'm inspired to speak on. So please just bear with me. I'm just going with the flow. So, and I don't want to get off track from what the Spirit is asking me to say. And I'm being bold because it's a lot of stuff that maybe I've not talked about, that I thought, all right, well, the Spirit just moved me, inspired me. So let me just say some of these things. So, getting back to, if a person tries to attack you, or they might say something that's unusual for them or try to start an argument, and you can feel it starting, when they say little snippy things, little smart things to you, or they get way out of line, and then they do some things to show, that they're apologetic about it. But the thing is, you know that you need to do what God asked you to do already and move. And if you don't, you can expect anything from anyone. And I think that we've been used to um towing the line. And if you don't know what that means, we've been used to following orders. We've been used to um worrying about people's opinions of us and acting because we want people to like us, or we want some kind of approval or something like that. Time is out for that. We got to do what God asked us to do. And so for me, I know I've been in situations where people have been lying, and it's, you know, we in the past, we would have said, and let me just insert, there are beings here that can communicate with us telepathically. I'm gonna say it like that. They know our thoughts. They can read our thoughts. We can read each other's thoughts if we really tap into our spiritual powers. So there are beings here, though, that can hear our thoughts. And like I said, we could do that. We could hear each other's thoughts. We can feel each other's feelings. I was just talking with someone recently about, I have psychic abilities, if that's, the appropriate word, intuitive abilities or whatever it is. I can think people's thoughts. I can feel their feelings. I can experience their symptoms and things like that, and bring them back to them and talk to them about it and say, are you feeling this? Or do you have, maybe there's someone out there that has had a headache recently on the right side, um, or and I'm saying that, I've that's been that's for somebody. That someone had a headache, that someone had some issues with eating that they couldn't control. And I know, like for example, that one of my clients had the experience with the eating stuff, and then they were able to slow down. But this stuff is real, and so they talk about, well, at the some people say at the end of our lives, we will feel the pain that we put everyone through. Um, if we hurt someone or something like that in our lifetime. And I'm like, I already feel that. That's probably why they call me a twin flame. But I already have those things. That's why I say I'm a one and done type of person. I don't need to keep going around the mountain and around and around and around. I have the one experience and get the lesson, or see someone else go through it and get the benefit of their experience and get the lesson. And we don't need to go around that mountain again. We don't need to go through that again. Um, but it could be, with the spiritual warfare, someone starts out, you know, doing something little, and it's like they're testing the waters. This is how they start with you, and then it will get progressively worse and worse. But the person might not want you to leave the situation. They get mad at you, they try to lash out at you, and it gets to the point where other people can see it. But and I was getting into people lying, not telling the truth. There's been a time in the past when we would have been told, don't let them do that. And then there's parts of the Bible, like for example, that those parts say, do not throw your pearls to pigs. um don't stand around and argue with people when they're not going to understand it anyway. In my experience, sometimes God bridles my tongue and I just listen, because that's what I'm supposed to do. If I'm This is what some demonic entities want us to do: engage in arguments with them, because then they feel like we care, they feel like whatever it is. But I think all people don't always know that they're being used either, but they are, and it's unfortunate for them. I would say, I just encourage everyone to um try to stay as close as to God, as close to God as you can. Try to stay as close to God as you can. Try to not let anything separate you, because the warfare is real and happens every day. But for a lot of people, they might be judgmental and say, well, you should be, like, say for instance, if you're 22, 23, and your parents are looking at you like you need to be married, or you're 25, you need to be married. Why aren't you married right now? Why aren't you married? Why aren't you skinny? Or why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? Why don't you have a boyfriend? Why don't you get rid of that boyfriend, date the boyfriend that we want you to date? Whatever it is, the world is like that. You cannot please everybody all the time, so you might as well do the thing that you know is right for you, and not just doing silly stuff and acting like this makes sense. It does not make sense. If you know that it don't make sense, don't do it. Do the stuff that you know is right. I know sometimes you get carried away. As much as possible, do the things that you know are right. But don't expect people to go along with you when you do the stuff that is wrong, or don't expect them to encourage you or support you in it. You know, um, do what's right. But it ends up with, I mean, you separate from this demonic entity, and sometimes this is a person that, like I said, they don't always know that they're being used. That don't mean that you need to stick around and let them do stuff to you. But sometimes I believe it's God saying, I'm preparing you because there are going to be times when you really need to move, or I'm going to move you. And in my case, like I said, um, my body got moved, and I'm better with God just moving me. Um, so I'm grateful for that. So I say to you, you know, the spiritual warfare might get ramped up. But and I was talking about the job market, that there are reports that jobs are available. And then, a million people putting in applications. They like, why are we not getting hired? We're qualified for it. What's the thing? And the companies, I think, are forced to admit eventually we are just told to post jobs to say that we're hiring. I think they're going to have to admit it. This is just my theory. I'm not really sure, but um, and of course you don't have to agree with that. Tell me what you think about it. It's reporting that they're hiring, and then they're not hiring because a lot of people are looking for work. And I just saw this video. This girl um, going door to door with a stack of resumes, like, I speak 5 languages or something. I got, 2 degrees and, 2 bachelor's degrees, communication and something else. But she like, nobody hiring. And I'm, like I said, and that takes me to something else. I'm trying not to make the video too long. That takes me to something else. But it's sort of like, let's say there are um there's an organization, um, kind of demonic organization, that would say they don't know how you got so intelligent because they didn't mean for that to happen. You want to make sure that you're not, because you'll be very unhappy working at a basic job where none of your skills are used because you're not intended to have any skills or any intelligence. Let's say that there is a group of people that want it to be that way, that want all human beings eventually, and now if they could have it, to be that way. Um, and so for you, you like, all right, scratching your head, like, what's the deal? Why can't I get XYZ? Or why can't I do XYZ? But it's because there are or there's an organization, let's say, like I said, that doesn't want you to. They want to make sure that you don't get that you're not too intelligent, because you'll be very unhappy, working, at, I don't know, some basic job when you're intelligent, because there's only so many slots that they have open for the quote unquote intelligent people. Um, it would be a shame if that were the case, is what I would say. But some people talk about the deliberate dumbing down, and it's not just of America, I would say. It might just be a test. This is something that you might be interested in looking into. Charlotte Iserby, years and years ago, talked about this, the deliberate dumbing down of America, and then now other people have been talking about it too. And it's mixed in with other things that people discuss. But things like that, it's really pretty bad that they are talking about how a lot of people might not be able to create sentences. Um, and that is alarming. But I don't want to get too much into all these things. I just want to kind of touch the surface, and later on, I want to discuss more of it. But I think it's really important to focus on some of this stuff, because I know that a lot of people are seeing it and just not talking about it. Um, but I would say it's important to talk about because it's affecting all of us. And there are people who are saying, well, what's wrong with everyone? And why isn't everyone achieving? And why isn't everyone doing this? And why haven't they got to that level and this and that? And they're not considering you're not supposed to. Like, let's just think about it this way. There's the Federal Reserve Bank. If you watch a movie, and I think the movie is called The Money Masters, there's not enough money in circulation to pay all the debt. If they try to balance the budget in the US, say for example, there would be no money, period. We need to educate ourselves about things like this. Um, but we need to know um, that there's a lot of things going on under our noses that we don't know about. And we need to educate ourselves more. And we need to stop being distracted by so many things that don't matter. Um, and focus on the stuff that does matter. Stop busying yourself, getting into devilment is what I would say for a lot of people, and focus on the stuff that makes sense. That's the only way that we're going to make it out of this mess. But just think of it that way. There's not enough money in circulation to pay all the debt, and they know it. And that's the reason why they do, like, in Illinois, I think every 7 years, things, and if with the no activity, things fall off of your credit. And that's because they know there's not enough money in circulation to pay all the debt. So if there is debt, you don't need to freak out and think that it's all over, because it's, some of it is designed that way. Um, of things, I just hope things get better. That's what I'm going to say. But for us, we have to keep fighting the good fight. We got to continue to do the work that we're called here to do, and work together and see if we could get some things accomplished. I think I'm going to end for now, but I'm grateful that you joined me. So thank you so much for joining me. Looking forward to bringing another video soon um, about topics like these. I'm just interested to know what people think. I don't think that I said anything outlandish, um, because there have been so many things said. Um, but this is spiritual talk. And so, I mean, again, the work that we do, spiritual warfare, is on every day. This is spiritual talk, and a lot of things might come out, be revealed. And I'm hoping to hear some of your experiences about things that have happened to you, and, how you've been addressing these things, and, the victories that you've had against these demonic entities. Um, and I know that we'll continue to have victories. It's just, got to continue to sharpen ourselves and each other so that we can continue to fight, because we know how it ends. We win. We're just going through the motions. All right, y'all. Thank you for joining me. Excited to talk more about this with you at a later time. And I'll talk to y'all soon. As always, happy lighting fast manifesting. Okay, love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Bye.